Steph Townson, founder of the London Voice Boutique. Welcome to LVB Presents. We're a voiceover agency based in Soho, London, and in this second series, we're going to take you on a little journey behind the scenes with some of our actors. But also, I'm going to take you on a detour and talk to people on the production side of the industry to give you some of the fun stories and advice from the other side. Today, I welcome Melsie, Bourne and Laura Townson from the Bourne Consultancy, an independent talent consultancy that helps to match brands with all talent, whether they be A-list celebrities, comedians, sports personalities or voiceovers. Hello, both of you.
Hello.
Hello. Melsie, you used to run your own voiceover agency, Rabbit, back in the 90s, and I think it went on for about 20-something years.
16.
Well,
I sold it after 16 years, and
wow.
then it was I was there for another couple of years.
Amazing. And then you decided to go client side, and basically the same time that I set up London Voice Boutique 10 years ago, you decided to go and set up the Bourne Consultancy.
Yeah, we swapped places.
We did. So you became my client, which was weird, having worked together for ages. And Laura, you started out in the world of PR, influencers and celebs before joining the Bourne Consultancy. And you've been there about 3 years, I think, haven't you?
Yes, I joined just at the end of the pandemic, I think, in March 2021, I believe.
Yeah. You were actually able to see each other at that time, were you?
No, I don't think we were. I think I joined on Zoom.
Oh my gosh.
And then we could kind of socially distance meet, I think.
But we do most of it on Zoom anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, we all work from home. Really.
Okay. And so you're one of the top voiceover casters for the Bourne Consultancy as well, aren't you? So between you work quite closely with us on the voiceover casting briefs.
Yeah.
And obviously all the
Laura
other
was a natural.
agents.
She just took to it. She's brilliant.
I love it. So, well, firstly I wanted to say welcome, and then kind of what have you been up to recently? Because obviously it's been quite a difficult year last year, I think, for a lot of people. But you stayed busy and you've worked on some quite large campaigns. So can you tell us about anything that's been out there? I know you can't if it's NDA. But...
I mean, everything's NDA. That's the problem, isn't it? So it's we had a really bad start to the year last year. I think most people did.
Yeah,
I mean, it was quite shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we invoiced anything until April, and we were all in a bit of a panic. But then it sort of picked up.
Yeah.
We had a good end of the year.
I think that's happened to a lot of people from what I've heard. So, but what were some of your highlights last year, would you say, or can you?
We were casting Virgin Media for most of last year, weren't we? We were trying to find the voice of Virgin Media, and that went on and on and on. It was a regional voice brief with a sort of unique, distinctive sound, as most of our voice briefs are. And we did about 6 months of that.
Yeah,
and it was difficult, wasn't it?
Back and forth, wasn't it?
Yeah,
a long time. Yeah.
And we did all the agents, and then we went via regional radio stations. We went to the drama schools.
Wow.
We went through we did all the stand-up comedians, and we looked at spoken word. I mean, we literally went everywhere trying to find something with a different sound.
And can I ask, because we didn't get it obviously, so it's fine, but where did you end up? Did you end up with an actor? Or
we ended up with an actor, but we're not allowed to talk about who ended up with it.
Is it out in the?
It's out, and he sounds fabulous, and it was a really good ending, basically.
Oh, good.
But it's a shame because we can't talk about who it is. So.
Okay, how exciting though! I mean, that's the thing.
It was a
when you get a good chunky voice. I know you've had to go. That is quite interesting when you have to go and find outside of the voiceover world, the actors' world, the presenters' world, and then kind of really dig deep for those people.
We love doing that. We love it because it's great. Because what's also really interesting is when you send a brief out to agents. Some agents are amazing, and they will send back 3 or 4 suggestions, and they will direct you to what is the correct read on either the showreel or on the actor's page, and that is really helpful.
Yeah.
Other agents will send you 25 voices.
Right.
And there will be no guidance as to which commercial we should listen to or what sort of read is the right one on the showreel. And it can be quite frustrating, can't it?
So also sometimes they will send it back within 1 second of us sending the brief.
Right.
So
you wonder how much thought's gone into this, and whether they've got their same favourites that they send all the time.
Right.
But also once you've done. What we also then do is we'll go through an agency's list as well. Yeah. Because often we won't. So not only will we accept their suggestions,
but we
will then fine tooth comb through the whole of the agency just to make sure we haven't missed anything. We know people's lists quite well, so we often have people in mind when we're sending the brief out, hoping that they'll be sent back, and if they're not, then obviously we'll put them up for it.
Yeah.
But then there was a screaming gap really with the creatives really wanted a different sound, and this is what we're getting in all our briefs at the moment. So we were trying to sort of think outside the box, weren't we?
Yeah, it's also so nice when you go outside of the box or the usual, going natural. They sound so much more. They're not reading a script as they sometimes are in the show reels on agent websites. So it's such a different sound, isn't it? And you're looking out for different things, and it's just them having a conversation or them. I don't know.
It's the tone of the voice.
Yeah.
So you're hearing the tone of the voice rather than being put off by an overproduced read.
Okay, so we've just had a conversation previously I've had with Sophia and Sorrel about people applying to be voiceovers for that are literally like, we've had a surgeon phone up and go, I think you're packing it in, I want to be a voiceover. Or the other day I got somebody who does these telephone centres, these call centres, and they're like, I've been told I've got a lovely voice and I'd like to be a voiceover. So what is the difference? Because my response to all these people is, you need to have some training. You have to have some professional training. I'm not saying they have to be actors, but they have to have had some kind of professional vocal training for me to be able to put them up for jobs that are like, I'm sending them in at 300, 400 quid an hour, depending on who it is. Those producers want someone who can deliver. But then I know that you guys are always looking for that person who is a bit outside the box. And have they had training? Are you looking for people on the street? I mean, like, how do we find that balance? It's really hard because I don't know how to answer it sometimes, because I do know you're looking for a different voice quite regularly.
I think there are certain people who have an ear for it.
Yes.
I think if you are a musician, if you can sing, people need to be able to read a script, and they also need to be able to take direction.
Yeah.
You need to be able to do that end line 3 times and 3 times differently, different intonations, it's really difficult because I have once a week, I'll get a friend ringing me up saying, can you please, so-and-so's got a really nice voice, and you're like, oh God, the heart sinks, here we go again. And it's really hard to say no, because of course I want to help people. This is we need to be able to help, and we're really lucky to be working in an industry that is very closed, and so we're lucky enough to be able to open doors for people. I think what I always do with people, if they have got a good sound to their voice, because a lot of people don't, so you're like, you sound fabulous, but I'm not sure this is quite going to work. You have to, turn people down politely. I get people to read scripts on their phones and send me. Yeah. So they'll send in the test recording, so you can hear whether they've got it, and then I'll direct them via the phone. And then if it's worth it, then I will probably speak to somebody like you, or I will go in and work with them.
Right.
So I think when you're initially talking to somebody, it's really important to find out if they, do they sing? I think music is a really big thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that'll give you, it means you've got the ear.
Spoken word is
another
exactly, really great way of getting into it. Yeah. I mean, that's people who I've taken on that aren't just traditional actors, are spoken word artists, singers, comedians. Exactly, they've got that stand-up delivery performance, and some presenters. Although presenters have a different type of training, but they're used to working with a mic right in front of them, and then not going to get nervous when you're sat in front of 10 people. So those are sort of people who I see as outside the box. But outside of that box. I tend to stay away from it. I shy away from it because I cannot guarantee when they turn up to a voiceover session that they're going to deliver, and that reflects badly as an agent. So how does that, because you obviously feel like you find these people, it's probably, you can say, look, here are some people great voices and not necessarily trained, then it's a client's decision as to whether they want to take the risk. Yeah. But do they often take that risk, or is it actually reality is you do need someone who can deliver?
We rarely find people who aren't sort of in that some sort of public arena, because of course if you're looking, they're going to be an influencer, there's going to be some
so used to talking.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to, we do often use interviews, don't we? Because a lot of creatives these days don't want a produced show reel. Yes. They, voice, they don't want, and this is what we get, which is so frustrating. You must find this so frustrating. Yes. They don't want a show reel. So we often find we have to look for interviews, or we have to find something else because they just won't accept, us. We can't submit show reels, can we, at all sometimes?
Crazy,
yeah, it is crazy. It's really crazy.
And find. I kind of get it though, when if they're asking for someone that's, and also some people who are listening to the reels don't understand that it's kind of put on and it's not their natural voice sometimes.
Oh my God, it's so infuriating. I mean, how long, we know creatives work in advertising, they do know as well sometimes that, just direct them.
Yeah.
You've got to direct them.
Well, they're performers. And so therefore, what you hear there, as long as you like the tone or the style of their voice, then you're going to be able to perform them in a different direction. Yeah. They're actors. That's why I feel strongly that they have to have had some training of some kind so that they can take their voice in a different direction. I think with what you're saying about the natural delivery, that's really interesting because we've had this conversation for years about a more natural delivery. And that's why I got everyone on my book to start doing what I call off the record, where it's just as if they're sitting in a coffee shop having a coffee with someone, and it's a really natural delivery conversation. But I know a lot of other agents do that too. I'm not saying this is not about...
You were the first. You were the first. You were really, really clever. When you did your website, I remember being so impressed by it because you were the first person that stepped away from the show reel. Yeah. Show reels used to be 6 or 7 clips of commercials, quick, fast clips that would show that the talent had different reads and that they were versatile. And you were very clever because what you did... So, sorry, going back, that was really difficult to be casting from because if you hadn't been directed to the exact time, the exact clip that you're supposed to be listening to, you can get lost in that. Yeah. And if I'm being really honest, when you're listening to 100+ voices for a casting, you listen to the first 10 seconds. You really do.
I think
that
5.
First clip,
probably 5.
It's so important.
It's that quick.
But you were so clever because you separated all of the commercials. You had a description by each and every one of them, and you had your off-the-record read, and it made a really big difference to us. Yeah, really helpful.
Well, that's
people have followed suit since, but I mean, I think you were the first person to do that.
Well, I think that comes from having been on your side of the job, and I understand that if you're presenting to a creative team or a creative director, you've literally got 2 minutes with them, so you want to go straight to that spot. But I know obviously loads of this. I'm not here to say aren't I great or anything. It's really like I know a lot of agents are amazing, and a lot of them do the same. But that's very kind of you to say. Okay, so with that in mind, so what made you want to change from being? I mean, maybe you just wanted a change in your life, but what made you change from going from voiceover agent to voiceover casting?
I think as an agent, every day is very similar. Yes, you have different briefs in, but you're casting from the same pool of talent. And at Rabbit, we had, oh my God, I was so lucky. We had some amazing talent. Yeah. And we had all the DJs and all the presenters, and we were very lucky. We did clean up quite a bit when I first set up. We were very, very lucky because we had all the people that were in your sitting room on a Saturday night, didn't we? So that's who people seem to want to advertise their products. I needed a change, Steph.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
It was nearly 20 years, and it was just, I needed a change.
Yeah, fair enough.
And also when I sold the company, I left after a couple of years, and then people started asking me to help and do things, and I suddenly organically realised that actually, you can flip this. Yeah. And so I did.
Yeah. And it's been really
I love
helpful
it.
For you. Yeah.
I love it. Every day is completely different. You've no idea what's around the corner. We can really get our teeth into things, can't we?
Yeah.
And you've got such a great team, so it's really nice when you've got really good people around you. They're all passionate about the voiceover side of things and acting, because I know it's not just voiceover.
We do on camera as well.
Yeah, exactly.
We do.
You do big personalities and all
But
sorts.
the voice. I mean, Izzy, my business partner, my RMD. Her background is on camera, and mine is voiceovers, which is why we complement each other.
Dream team. And it's our 10-year anniversary this year as well.
Yeah, yes. Same as me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, how did that happen?
I don't know, but incredible. Incredible. You're going to do something for it.
Yeah, I think we are.
We must.
Well, come on, Rabbit, we were always famous for our parties.
You had the best parties.
Yeah,
I remember your 5-year party, and it was something else. Yeah, those days are over though.
No. Ridiculous. What are you talking about? We could still party like the rest of them, just not so often, Just
right, well, I'm coming to your party. Okay, so how do you go about casting voices for your clients? Like when you get that brief in, obviously not everything is going to be different, and some of them might be off show reels and some of them might not be, but what's the first thing you guys do? Do you just sit down and chat about it?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. We sit down, we chat about it, we work out the way to proceed, don't we?
Yeah, we kind of treat every brief as if it's the first brief we've ever got, don't we? And it completely depends, because some of them are so different, so varied, but I think the process is kind of similar each time. Would you say?
It is. It really depends. I mean, The problem we've got is is recently we've had the same brief that comes in all the time, which is for a unique, distinctive, stand out, stop you in your tracks voice.
Yeah.
But it's got to be, it's like Garrison Keillor for Honda and Rutger Hauer for Lurpak. It's those voices that become synonymous with a brand.
Yeah.
And that's what every brand is looking for. And it's every creative brief. And it really is almost every creative brief.
Yeah.
So it's quite hard because, we've done it 100 times over. And we know that there isn't really a huge amount left that can be cast for a brand voice. So we have, we've done all that. We look at all the drama schools. We're constantly looking. Our ears are constantly open. I went to see something recently in the West End, and the lead actor had this really different voice. So I was immediately on to the theatre to see if we could get, how we could get to him. So yeah,
We did one recently for, I don't know if I can say the band name, but they wanted a really strong American kind of coaching voice, if that makes sense. Really authoritative, really, you want to stop and listen to them when they speak. So we rang American basketball teams, we rang American Air Forces.
We did the army bases, didn't we?
Army bases.
Yeah, we
know why you did that, Melsie.
Do you want to pop over? It was
coming over for a coffee.
Basketball leads, and we did all we were ringing all the sort of London basketball teams going. It was American as well.
It was American,
an American coach, but it was so random. And then we were speaking to the States as well. But yeah, it's like every.
That was an interesting one.
It was interesting.
And did you get your person in the end?
Yeah, we did. I can't remember who did it in the end.
I can't remember either.
But yeah, no, we did. We absolutely did. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I love about it is when you do. I do like to think outside the box. As an agent, I'm going to be careful who I take on because I have had footballers come to me and I've had other sort of, and you're kind of like, yeah, interesting, especially if they've had some presenting background. I've done reels with them and actually they've worked out really well. But it is, it's a gamble and it's different when it's from you guys taking that gamble because you can literally say to the client, look, here we go, good luck.
Yeah,
this is
good
who
luck.
you've got,
to direct them.
and they will take that chance. But as an agent, I can't do that. So I think it's quite interesting actually having this conversation. It has really helped.
It's also, I found, when we had all the DJs and presenters at Rabbit, they come in, a voiceover artist will come in and they will read a script, sort of how a creative would expect it to be read, and they will take direction. Whereas we used to have all these presenters and they would come in and they would do this circular talking and they would go round and round in circles and you'd have to try and literally almost take it line by line to sort of strip it back.
Yeah.
So that was, I always found really hard. That was, I think you do the same, but you have to work with each and every person you take on before you have the confidence to put them out, send them out to the world, really. Yeah. To know that they can take the direction.
Yeah.
The thing that really surprised me, I guess, when I first started was how quickly the voiceover industry, everything turns around so quickly. We'll get a brief and they'll be like, we want to record tomorrow and we want it to go live in a week. And it's so different on camera because you have months.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I was saying that with Sophia today. And it's really funny because literally just before you arrived, I had someone phone me up going, are they free in half an hour? Because it's an ongoing job, but like he lives in the Midlands. He happens to be doing a show this afternoon in town. So he is free and he is going to be here later on. But it's just like, I don't know, let me find out. I kind of like that though. I do like a fast turnaround. I think that's why I liked advertising for so long because you got a script, but you knew within 2 to 3 months that would be on air. And having worked on films and stuff previously, that can take 2, 3, 5 years to get on air. And you're like, yeah, that's a really long process. I think I've got attention deficit. I certainly can't last that long. So is there anything you're particularly proud of or any of the funny stories that you can share with us, or are you not allowed to?
I think, the most exciting job, when I'd first set up and I was literally working sort of at my desk at home and it was just me, I was working with Danny Stewart, who is just one of the nicest women in advertising. Yeah. And she was the head of TV at Wydens, and it was, we cast John Goodman for 3 Mobile. Yes. And that was really exciting for me.
My chat was backup for you.
Who was the
David
chap?
Callahan, who was the backup.
Yes, because he did the test, absolutely.
Yes.
But we got, and when John agreed to do it, That for me, because the Bourne Consultancy was really new, that was really exciting. And then he was so good.
He was amazing.
Yeah, and there was no issue with him. You know, he was really happy to come in for pickups, and you know, the agent was really easy, so that was really nice.
Yeah. In fact, when I said to my actor, "I'm sorry you didn't get it, but John Goodman did," he went, "I'm going to take that."
Exactly.
He was more than happy to stand down on that one.
No, that was really exciting. I remember that.
Tuppence Middleton, didn't you do?
Oh yeah, Uniqlo. I did. I was working with Droga 5 New York, and they wanted. It was that throwaway voice in head, you know, the sort of voice of conscience.
Yeah.
And we had so many people test for it, and then she did this test, and they were all a bit, you know, when you're casting something but you're not nailing it.
Yes.
And you start thinking, oh my god. And then I remember hearing her read, because her agent really kindly asked her to do a test read, and it was that feeling in the pit of your stomach when you're like, yes, and then sending it over, and then hearing her, and then getting her in, and the final read was amazing.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, she was really good.
I love it. I love that process. I get really excited.
But it's that feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I think it's the intuition. It's that feeling of like, oh, this is the one.
Yeah.
And then when
just hope that everyone else on the line agrees with you. That's the problem. Yeah, there's quite a lot of
doing
people.
the spoken word ones. I feel like I get lost in all of the submissions, and I just listen to them for hours and hours and hours. It takes me so long, just because I think it's so powerful, and
there's so much talent in that arena as well. There's so much untapped talent in the spoken word arena. There really is.
Yeah,
there's good people out there.
Do you do any animation, or is that?
We do. I did. I mean,
commercial.
The last one we did was a film for China, a company based in Hong Kong, and we cast Sean Bean, Gemma Arterton. It was an amazing cast.
Oh wow!
Where did it go? I haven't seen it.
Oh.
You know, I mean, they must have cost them an absolute fortune.
And they made it all. And
I don't know. I mean, they recorded it all.
Wow.
Paid the actors. Yeah. So who knows? That was the last one we did.
Never know. Okay, so I mean, you may have answered this already, but what do you look for when casting a voiceover? And do you have any advice for actors or producers, really? It's kind of, I get asked this all the time, so I'm kind of dumping this one on you and seeing if you can help me. You know, how can we help people with that casting?
Be natural in your first commercial, the first read that you're going to have on your page. Be yourself.
Be the best.
Your natural accent.
Yeah.
Just be talking. Don't be reading. Don't be trying too hard. Just be you. Yeah, conversational. Like you're sitting in a pub having a pint, chatting to your mate. Don't put any effort into it.
Yeah.
Be almost lackadaisical about it. Like, you know, hey, just chat.
I agree.
Because that's what we want to hear. And if you have got a USP with your voice, if you do have a husk or something slightly different, a lisp, or you can't pronounce your R's, that is brilliant. That's what we're looking for. So make the most of it.
Okay, brilliant.
And make sure you have that as in your first read. If you can do all the accents, that's brilliant, but we don't want to hear it first, unless we're looking for regional. And if you're going to do regional, you've got to be born and bred.
Yeah,
because if you're not, someone's going to point it out.
Absolutely.
You know, someone in that part of the world will say,
authenticity is so important these days, right?
I think also bear in mind that we are listening, and the producers also probably are listening to a lot of reels.
Yes.
Or a lot of suggestions. So as you said earlier, we only listen to about the first 5-10 seconds.
Yeah.
So make those
Count.
that first bit
and
stand out.
As an agent, please take time just to tell us what to listen to.
Yeah.
Don't just send us. You know, there's an agency that just send us literally, there's not even a gap between the links. It's like link, and there's about 20 of them. And you open the email and it's so overwhelming.
Your heart just sinks.
It really sinks.
After listening to loads and loads as well,
Yeah.
you suddenly get the email through of loads more, and you're just like,
oh God. And there's no guidance on it either. And also, keep them on brief, because the minute they're not on brief, I'm not going to listen to anything else underneath it.
Totally agree.
You're not putting any effort into it.
I totally agree.
The amount of times we say male voice and we get loads of female suggestions.
Really.
It's like, read the brief.
Yeah. I think, well, having been a producer, I remember that very much, but I would rather, I'm sure a lot of our agents out there are doing the same, but I'd rather send 2 voices if they are the correct style than have 10 voices that are not, because that just cheeses you off.
We sometimes say that, don't we? Can you just send us your top 3?
It's hard though when you do that. It's hard because I find that quite hard. I'd say top 5 or something, because sometimes if it is a brief where there is comedy or something, it's like, oh, who are the top 3? And actually that's quite difficult. That's kind of, I think you just need to say your absolute best that fit this brief, because actually some agents will have 10 fantastic comedians, and to choose 3 is, or whatever the brief is, it depends on the brief, I think, but it is hard when people do that. I find that really hard.
But I think with somebody like yourself, I mean, you could always put these your top 3, but I'd actually, I mean, I would always listen if you were adding in more.
I always give you a wild card, don't I?
Well,
I usually
say,
I love that.
I love it.
We love our wild cards.
I know this isn't quite what your brief is, but I think this one would really work. And then it's like, here's a wild card.
We always shove in wild cards. We always do our left field suggestions, and it is so exciting when they get picked, isn't it? It's like, you know.
I love it.
Yeah, I do that.
It's great.
I think it's
also
fun.
when some agents reply and they just say, sorry, don't think I've got the right one for this one. That's so refreshing,
Yeah, that's
isn't
so
it?
refreshing.
Rather than just sending everyone on their list.
Yes, exactly.
It's so nice, isn't it?
Here's someone, but I mean, I had that yesterday where they were asking for like a teenage something. I did not have what they were. It was so specific. For me, it hurts to write back and go, I'm really sorry, but we don't have this, but we have this as an age 30-year-old. But you know that the whole brief is very much a 16-year-old is what they wanted. It hurt, but I did, because there's no point in just, well, it just pisses you guys off, doesn't it, at the end of the day? So I'm going to have every 16-year-old on my books writing to me go, why did you do that? I'll explain to them secretly, separately. Okay, so on a more general note, I've kind of grilled you now on the basic casting, but on a more general note, I ask everybody on the podcast, who would you most like to direct in a voiceover booth? And it could be anyone, whether you've done it or not already. Who would it be?
I am going to have to say Danny DeVito.
Oh, really?
Incredible. I've been rewatching the It's Always Sunny series, and I'm just obsessed with him. I think he'd be amazing.
I bet he'd be so much fun.
Yeah, so much fun. He's got such a range of talent. Yeah, I just think he'd be a good one.
Judi Dench, I think. She's my idol. We cast her in Money Supermarket, and I got to go to the shoot.
Did
she was literally, I mean, it was a bit of a dream come true. I felt like I was 13, and I was just sitting, and then we got to meet her, and she was so kind and so humble and so beautiful.
Isn't she
and
amazing?
I just think she's a pro.
Yeah.
And when you work with a pro, I was lucky enough to direct Rhys Ifans' voice reel when he was with us at Rabbit, and I remember sitting in there, and it was like, right, just do a test for level. And I was like, did you take that one? Did you get that?
Yeah.
And he literally, I don't think I even said one word of direction. He was just incredible. And that voice. So I think Judi Dench, I think she would be my...
Oh, she would.
I'm just obsessed.
There aren't that many people that I am sort of in awe of, but I think if I met Judi, I'd be a bit like...
Yeah, I was tongue-tied. It was that sort of thing, you know, and you're like, you wait for your moment and you're like, I couldn't get my words out.
Annoying.
You know, going puce, stumbling, pathetic.
Queen.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Excellent. Okay, you may not be able to answer this, but what is the most unusual casting brief you've ever given to a voiceover in a studio, or that you've had as a brief? Like, what's your most unusual one?
I had such a weird one. Anne Summers.
Yeah.
Talking sex pillow. Yeah. We cast a talking sex pillow, and the chap that voiced it was he was the lead in and he was the lead in quite a sort of big. It was quite a sexy sort of soapy drama at the time. That was an interesting one. Done a talking bus stop.
That's so.
And we've had really random briefs, but that's the one that sticks in my mind. It was like, wow.
Really? I would totally have gone for a female as well for that.
No, they wanted a man.
Brilliant.
I think, well, it's,
Think off piece. Love it.
That was an interesting
one. Have you had one,
wasn't it?
Laura, that you're thinking?
I don't know. I'm thinking of one of yours that you've told me where an actor had to appear like he was drunk.
Oh,
So
yeah. They fed him with, they literally, they brought in a can of, they literally brought in a case of lager and he was made to drink.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, he was okay with that.
I was very happy with it. That suits him down to the ground.
They cast well, did they?
Yeah, they did. They cast very well.
Another beer.
Very, very well.
Was it in the 90s by any chance? I was going to say it had to be in the 90s. I don't think you could get away with that now. Okay, final question for you ladies. It's 5:00 on a Friday night and you've finished recording a session. Where do you go out in Soho? Don't say you're going home. I want to know, what did you do in the 90s
can we
go
back to the 90s?
Yeah.
Well, we got at Rabbit. We always took our Friday afternoons. We were quite famous for our Friday afternoons. We would take the bookings diary, which in those days was this massive diary, and we'd go to the Endurance on Berwick Street. And all our actors knew we were there, and a lot of producers knew we were there. And so Friday night would just continue. And it was brilliant because there was always loads of actors in there. It was a really good place to socialise. Yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it? Billy,
whose
pub it was. He was just such a legend. It was a good It was a good place to be, wasn't it? I mean, those days were fun. We'd probably have been up since Wednesday anyway. Imagine those days, for goodness sake.
You, Melsie, maybe.
Not anymore,
The good days. What about you, Laura? Are there any little secret places you go to?
I don't know about secret. I love like an old man's pub.
Yes.
Like the Jon Snow is a favourite.
Classic.
Blue Post.
Blue Post, yeah.
I love it.
I don't know why I love it so much. It just feels so like London and homely and cosy.
There are some good ones around Soho still, and they haven't changed.
Yeah, they haven't changed yet, have they?
No, there's still a few good ones.
I know the 90s were brilliant, weren't they? God, it was fun. I mean, it was really fun. I actually feel quite sorry for sort of your generation coming into this industry because we did have a blast.
Yeah,
there was so
money.
Lucky.
There was a lot of money.
But it was whining and dining. Yeah. It really was, and it was like, you know, sort of who can up the ante? Where can we go next?
Yes.
What, you know,
gosh,
it
was great.
Do you find it more competitive now?
I just feel that people don't have the time for lunch anymore. People don't have they don't really
take it more seriously now, do you think?
I just think that you don't have the same numbers of people working in agencies. The agencies are smaller. I think budgets have come down. People don't just have that free-flowing cash. Add it to my job number. Just put it on the job number. I mean, that was the phrase. Just add it to my job. Everything is literally itemised now. I mean, they didn't have cost controlling in those days.
Do you remember all the producers in the taxis? Yes. I mean, everyone was like, it was 6 a.m. Oh, don't worry, we'll get a taxi. Yes. We'll just, but you know. It's just like
it was money. There was money, but off the back of that, you got some amazing commercials, and you got, you know, you had, you know, some fantastic work. It wasn't like all that was done. There was some brilliant creative minds getting together in a pub and coming up with some absolute classics. So.
Yeah,
yes,
we did still work. Doesn't sound like we did.
I
But
know.
we did do a lot of work. We really did.
We just partied harder than we do now. So they were good times. Anyway,
they were great times.
Thank you so much for coming in. I think that's been really
Thank
interesting
you.
and a real little trip down memory lane.
Pleasure.
But some really helpful tips, I think, there. And I think, you know, to think outside the box, but within reason. When I next get somebody telling me why won't I take them on? Because they've got a lovely voice, so their mum told them.
It doesn't
anyway, it's so frustrating. All right, well, thanks very much, ladies.
Thank you for having us, Steph.
Hopefully see you soon.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. And that's it for the show. Hope you liked it, and if you did, please rate and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. LVB Presents was presented by me, Steph Townson, and produced by Mike Hanson for Pod People Productions, and recorded by Sean Dios at Jungle Studios in Soho, London. See you next time.
Pod People.